Welcome to Talk Around Riyadh, the Wheel of Time showcast. I am your host, Joe Perry, here with my co-hosts, Jen Isgro and Tom Kokoza. How you doing tonight, Jen?
I'm doing good. It's another scorcher, so it's pretty hot in here, but at least the air quality is a little better for us, and we can breathe the scorching hot air. So I'm ready to roll and talk about Wheel of Time once again.
Yeah, I didn't even notice I know there was some air quality alerts again the last couple of days, but I didn't notice it in the air, so it wasn't like a few weeks ago where it smelled like you were in a forest fire.
Yeah.
So how about you,
Much
Tom? How
better.
you doing?
I'm doing well, Joe. I avoided any concerns about heat or air quality by not leaving my house for the last day or two, unless absolutely necessary. Doing well. 4th of July was very nice. I got to see some friends and fireworks and all that fun stuff. And I'm excited. We've got some cool stuff to talk about tonight, and a very special guest with us.
Yes, let's get to our very special guest. We have with us today Lauren, host of the Unraveling the Pattern YouTube channel, been putting out amazing high quality Wheel of Time videos for 3.5 years now or something like that. We were just talking about that before. Welcome, Lauren. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me here. I had a fun week. We had a family reunion down on the border of Utah and Arizona. It was extremely hot. It was 110 degrees every day.
Oh my God.
And but my parents rented out a big house for the whole family with its own private pool. Nice. So it was awesome. We spent a lot of time in the pool.
Awesome.
Nice. Getting sunburned. That's why I've got a nice pink glow today.
You do. You've got some color.
I always have a pink glow, but I think it's a little more pink today than usual.
I forgot also to mention you also have a new podcast out too, right?
Yeah, they might be dark friends. It's one of those if we're lucky, we record once every 5 or 6 weeks. We're really busy and we don't have a very consistent schedule, but yeah, it's fun. It's with Rob Christensen from Weekly Wheel News and Alyssa Powers from One Power Ballad. She's a song parody content creator. And yeah, we like to talk about the Wheel of Time fandom and like everybody, the Wheel of Time. It's really fun.
Well, it's good because that's what we're going to be talking about today.
Wouldn't you know it?
I'm in the right place.
So before we get into, so the reason we have Lauren on is not only because he's awesome, but he also put out a video recently breaking down his thoughts on how he thinks season 2 is going to go. So we're going to talk about that video a little bit later. But before we get into that, Jen, what's happening?
Yes, it's 90 degrees out there, and yes, I am drinking hot coffee tonight. This is what's happening. So we have a couple of fun posts this week. 2 of them come from our leading lady, Rosamund Pike. So she posted on Instagram this week. What does it take to be a deep cover spy? And what impact does it have on a spy's friends and family? My documentary series, Mother Neighbor Russian Spy, is one of Audible's standout hits of the year, topping the podcast charts for the past 2 months. Thank you to all those listeners who've listened and shared their enthusiasm with others. At Audible, at Audible UK, at BBC Studios. The post that accompanies it is a short video about the podcast with the following narration by Rosamund. I'm going to try to duplicate it here.
You're going to do Rosamund?
I'm doing it. Here we go.
Okay.
Cindy had it all. In the early 2000s, she had a top job in Manhattan, a nice house in the suburbs, and 2 delightful daughters. But there's something not right about Cindy. Cindy is a Russian spy. She's been sent to the States to live in deep cover, and she will go on to target the U.S. government. Listen to Mother Neighbor Russian Spy with me, Rosamund Pike, only on Audible.
This is like that. Sounds like
is this like great?
I transposed the entire thing so I could read it. Also, there was some controversy between me and myself about how to pronounce Rosamund. So I was saying Rosamund, and then I switched to Rosamund. And then when I listened to this, I thought she was saying Rosamund. But I think now, after having listened to it like 16 times today, she's saying Rosamund. with a British accent, and it's like
Rosamund.
Rosamund. It's like in between those two. So
Rosamund?
it's really, for us, it's Rosamund. not
Rosamund?
Rose. It's like
Maybe with a U, like
Why-
with a U, Rosamund.
Rosamund. Yeah, it's like that's how
That's
they
like-
say it. Rosamund.
Not Sean Bean. We're not going to say it like Rosamund. It's like we would say it. I feel.
Or Mordor. This sounds like The Americans. Isn't that TV show The Americans? Wasn't that kind of what this was about?
Oh, I don't know.
That was
I never
the
watched that show.
80s.
Oh, that was the 80s. Okay.
But I don't know what year this takes place in. 'Cause-
Didn't you say it was the 90s?
Thought you
Beginning?
said.
Oh, the early You're right, Tom. You were paying attention. I wasn't. The early 2000s.
So Tom wasn't
Okay.
paying attention because he got it wrong.
Well, I read it and I didn't know. So
All right. I
I
was
was
closer.
Rosamund. I became Rosamund in that moment, so I didn't actually retain the information. Anyway, so if you're finished with the Watt audiobooks that she's released and you just can't get enough of her, you can listen to this podcast and find out what happened to Cindy.
Yes.
Let us know, or we could just listen to it ourselves. Speaking of not getting enough, our second post is also from Rosamund. It's a short behind the scenes video of her dressed in Moraine's episode 1 costume, sitting offset eating some Chinese food. Presumably she's between filming since her wig is covered by a hairnet and a Trolloc knife hilt is sticking out of her left shoulder.
I have to interrupt you there. That's not Chinese food, Jen.
It's not?
No.
What
That's
is
like
it?
salad and maybe chickpeas.
No, it's- Oh,
that's
it's like Chinese?
that's
Oh, you're
craft
right, it's
that's
chickpeas.
craft food services on set. She's got there's
Oh.
some I see what
I
you're saying
thought,
because
I thought that was
carrots and
noodles. That was like
broccoli.
noodles and
I don't think
broccoli.
so.
You might be right about the chickpeas. I didn't look that close at the food. I apologize. She's not eating Chinese
You've
food.
ruined this whole episode,
This is,
Jen.
I'm
oh my
sorry.
gosh. End the
Lord, we have a
episode,
guest
Joe.
here, Jen. You're embarrassing us.
Is it bad if she was eating Chinese food?
No.
No, it wasn't bad. You actually set me off. I stopped paying attention to what you were saying because I was like, I wonder how good the Chinese food is in Prague. Like, it probably doesn't taste like American Chinese food
Why? Oh, it's
because
whatever.
American Chinese food is
actual
not
Chinese
Chinese food for the most part. It's American Chinese food. Sorry.
All right, whatever. She's eating her lunch with the knife sticking out of her shoulder.
Yes.
So she says, thinking back to the Trolloc Wars, season 1 at the Wheel of Time. So in the video, a person off camera is telling Rosamund that something's sticking out of her. And she exclaims, "Oh my God, it's a knife." So she seems delightful and fun and not at all like Moraine off camera.
No one would ever describe Maureen as fun. I'll tell you
No.
that much. She
And Daniel
danced
Henney also
once.
left a comment on the post saying, "Yeah, sorry about that. Missed that one.
Oh.
One got through, but that's okay. She forgives him." Okay, so last but not least, two people who are fun off and on camera, Taylor Napier and Priyanka Bose. Taylor posts on Instagram, annual water/Aes Sedai holiday. Priyanka Bose will probably be mad at me for putting water before Aes Sedai, but we got to take our victories where we can. The small gray patch in my beard is 100% her fault. So this accompanies beautiful shots of the two of them on boats, looking silly and sexy. And I guess Yvonne's invitation got lost in the mail.
Oh, I wonder I wonder if spoiler alert, maybe Yvonne's dead already.
Oh, Yvonne dies.
Well, actually, no.
My
Owain
next
dies.
line-
Yvonne
No,
lives.
Maxim dies. Okay,
Well,
thank you.
there's no Mac, but
Oh.
Owain, right? Owain is
Owain.
his name?
Yes.
He
Okay,
dies.
anyway,
Yvonne
you almost
lives,
ruined
but
my
maybe they're going to switch it up.
Well, my next comment was going to be, we love them, and Maxim living through the series and presenting Alana with snacks at the last battle is a show change we can get behind.
I don't think
Crawls into the
Alana's
cave.
going to be having any
He's-
snacks at the last battle.
Oh, why not?
He crawls into the cave while she's like bleeding out.
No, he revives her with, he just like puts food in her mouth.
He put
I'm
persimmon.
thinking of Dumb and Dumber when he puts the pills are good.
Oh, yes. He just shoves the guy's pills in his mouth. It's just instead of Nynaeve, it's Maxim stuffing persimmons in her mouth, in her wounds, maybe, to heal her.
Oh, you never
There's a
know.
little pouch with like a packed lunch.
Yeah.
Trail mix.
I'm coming.
I'm coming, Alana. No. Oh boy.
Okay, so
We're silly.
I'm good for now. Back to you, Joe.
Welcome back to another edition of Where's What Origins. I actually have something that I'm going to talk about here. We did have a bit of news, but I feel like it fits better here in this spot because it could be What Origins news. So I'm gonna just talk about it right now. Right, San Diego Comic-Con. Right, we knew Wheel of Time was going to have a presence there. They posted a little blurb about the Wheel of Time panel on their Sked app. Sked, Jen. Sked app.
Fine.
Sketch.
Not a
Doesn't
sked.
sound good.
It sounds good, Sked.
Skedge.
No.
That's how people would abbreviate that. Skedge.
Okay. Well, anyway, we're going to move on from that. They're going to have a panel on Thursday, July 20th at 2 o'clock. So if anyone's in the San Diego area, yeah, you should go check that out, please, and report back to us. I think we know at least one or two people in that area who might be going.
I have a question before you continue.
Yeah.
This is not online at all like it was last time?
I don't know, Jen. I was looking around to see if there was anything about it. I'm going to try to get the research team on that. For now, I don't know if they're going to be streaming anything.
Okay.
They didn't stream it last. They didn't stream the San Diego
didn't
one.
we pay for tickets and then it was free?
No, that
Something
was
happened. You
2
sure?
years ago.
no, that was
That,
New
that
York.
might have been New York Comic.
Yeah, that was New York Comic Con 2 years ago.
Oh, that was okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right. I get all these.
But yeah, they didn't stream any of this right there.
Okay.
Jen was there, right? Remember, Jen was there, like live tweeting
Okay.
about it, and Matt.
Not you.
Yeah, Jen Sedai.
Another Jen.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, here's the blurb. I'm going to read it and get your thoughts on it. The Wheel of Time continues to turn at Comic-Con as the cast of Prime Video's hit series, The Wheel of Time, gives a sneak peek into the highly anticipated second season. I would say it's very highly anticipated. In addition
Yes.
to a discussion about how the show is bringing Robert Jordan's iconic book series from page to screen, they'll be revealing exclusive Season 2 content, as well as some other exciting surprises for attendees.
Ooh, what about non-attendees? They're going to show those same scenes again that we saw at New York Comic.
Oh, wouldn't that be funny? The two they only showed those scenes at New York Comic Con and that Brazilian con, right? The Matt and Elaine scenes.
Did they? Okay.
Yeah. So who knows? Maybe they'll show those scenes.
Those are their con scenes.
They never released them, so that it's very possible that they'll release those or at least show those there. So
I like that it says hit series. That's good.
Yeah, I think they're gonna always say that, even if it's not a hit, though. Not saying that, but no, I think they're just gonna say that no matter what. They says the cast, right, as the cast of Prime Video's hit series, right? So it sounds like we're getting cast members there. I want to get everyone's thoughts on who they think is going to be there from the cast.
The same people, like the Emmonsfield Five, and Elaine probably, and Lana Moraine.
I wonder if we'll get Yosha because we have not yet seen Yosha in like a live panel situation.
Really? He wasn't
Yeah.
at that. No, he. What am I
At least
thinking of? Where
not
all
that
of
I
them
can
were
think of.
like sitting together, and he was talking about. Was that like the premiere?
Yeah, he was at the premiere.
Was there a Q&A after the premiere? He was talking about how much he'd read or how far along he was in the books.
Yeah, I think that might have been at the Q&A. Or
I think that might have been a Dusty Wheel like pre-recorded interview.
No, I'm thinking maybe
You're
the
thinking of
quote
a
is
panel?
wrong, but I'm literally picturing him like on a. But it could have
Yeah,
been.
No,
there
you're
was
Q&A.
like
right,
an
you're right, there
Amazon
was.
kind of.
Yeah.
It was an Amazon thing.
Or what about that? Like, was it like the for your consideration thing that they do?
Oh, it might have been that. Yeah.
But like
could've-
last year, not they did one already this year, which obviously they have nothing to consider. But
It was just odd to me that, I mean, we all know why Barney Harris wasn't involved much
Yes.
yeah, well,
with any of the promotion stuff, but It was odd to me that Yosha didn't seem to be as involved either for a lot of it. But you're right, he was on one or two. I don't know where I remember hearing this, but I got the impression that maybe his English isn't 100%. Like he's comfortable with people just asking him questions point blank. But I don't know if that's true.
Yeah.
That was my impression. Was
Maybe
that
it's getting better at this point? Like 2 years ago, maybe. It wasn't good.
It was just like he wasn't comfortable necessarily.
He was probably filming Gran Turismo.
That's also possible.
But he there
just wasn't around.
I mean they're contracted for like a right X amount of appearances though. So
yeah, and he does promotion for the show. He just he hasn't been in any live cons, but right, and neither is Rosamund. Right?
Yes, yeah, she hasn't been at any of the cons either. So it's probably just for those things. I feel it's probably a scheduling thing. Like that's why they weren't there.
Well, and we have seen, they've been talking about all the what do they call them? The press junkets that they've been recording.
Yeah.
And we've seen images of Rosamund and Yosha together. So at least looks like they'll be in those. But of course, those are all pre-recorded.
Yeah. But I mean, those were, I think, all recorded around last week, I think it was, we were talking about it. They were all recorded, I think, in the same couple of days, in a short time span. So I guess that means Yosha was probably in Prague, right? Because if they were together, Rosamund and Yosha, my guess is they were in Prague. Does anyone else
season 3 yet?
Yeah, they already started filming.
So they're they're doing something.
Yeah, they're in the midst.
Mm-hmm.
But Maddie looked like she was back in Australia for the press junket. So I don't think everyone was in Prague or on set. I'm sure there's probably a break for the press junket. There's
maybe
probably a couple
doing,
days off.
Like maybe they're gonna do like the 3, like 2 rivers and then Tanchico, say, like they're not going to film it all like episode by episode, maybe.
Yeah, probably gonna do a lot of location filming, right?
Right, and we're pretty sure the next chunk of stuff that they're going to be filming now is Two Rivers stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
does anyone have any other thoughts? You think there's going to be any different cast there besides like the main 7?
Well, the thing I wonder is, will we see Rafe because of the whole writer's strike? Like, how involved is he with these kinds of things? I mean, usually when we get a trailer or something, he does a Q&A or he is involved in some way, and he's usually at the cons talking about writing the show.
Yeah.
I've been wondering how that's all going to resolve.
Yeah, and I mean, there's still a chance that there could be a SAG-AFTRA strike.
Yeah.
And we're all unsure how that affects the show. Like Daniel Henney is, I think, a part of it, and maybe Rosamund, but the other actor's not going to do anything as well. We have no idea what's going on there. Yeah, I'd be interested to see who's going to be. It'd be nice to see someone, maybe 1 or 2 new people, maybe somebody different. That'd be interesting. All right, so the reason I'm putting this in our Where's What Origin segment, and this is probably our longest Where's What Origin segment ever, is because do you think we potentially could get the release of those 2 episodes? Those 2 missing What Origins episodes that we've been waiting for since the last San Diego Comic-Con.
I think they'll announce them for August. That's my thinking.
They've already done that, though.
Now they'll throw a year in there.
I feel like I don't even care about them anymore, except because of this segment. But I feel like they're going to be like they'll make a big deal out of it and then release them as if like that's what we care about seeing. Like, I don't know.
Oh, interesting.
We're finally releasing the Origins, and we're like, give us a trailer. So I don't know. It's possible.
Yeah.
I've been wondering if they're going to do the same thing they did with season 1, where they have all that behind the scenes content through the Explore section. I feel like that was a cool idea in on paper, but I feel like it kind of maybe didn't work out too well. I know people had a really hard time accessing a lot of it early on. I think they've now fixed a lot of that, but it was rough going at the start. So I wonder if they're minimizing their budget in that way and like not going to put as much effort into that. My hope is that there will be as many Origins episodes as there are TV episodes, that there would be like a new one each week.
Yeah.
And I got the feeling that those 2 we think there were 2, right?
Yeah.
From that they announced last year. I got the feeling that those were kind of like the last 2 for the first season.
Right.
Yeah. It makes sense
they were like
because they were Lan and Melchior, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Which makes sense for those last 2 episodes when you find out about Lan's past.
It would be awesome to have something about like the Shan Chan, maybe a little bit about Arthur Hawkwing, maybe something about the Horn of Valir.
Oh yes,
and the legend of the horn, things like that.
Yes.
I know. I get a lot of comments on my YouTube channel about different things people are frustrated about, and one of the things that I personally am also frustrated about that some of my YouTube commenters say is, why was the horn under the throne, and what's that about, and is that ever going to be explained? And of course, I hope it is. I hope that in season 2 they'll explain why they had it and what it even
probably
was.
will have to. I mean, they're traveling to get it with all the Shinarans, like they have to.
So I have a question and a comment on that is it doesn't matter why the horn's there.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Except
really matter.
I care.
Yes, we care, but it doesn't. Yeah, but it doesn't really matter.
It does.
It will not change the story in any way.
No, but I think you can give a little bit of lore to it, like a little backstory. It's like, why is this horn important, and like why we've been even if they say something like we were tasked with guarding it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's as far as it needs to go.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I'm saying like whatever reason they come up with or explanation come up, it's fine. It doesn't because it doesn't really matter.
I mean, it was a good hiding place, and like, did Pat and Fane know it was there because they dug it up and then walked away and left it sitting out? Like,
well, don't
yes,
even
because
he didn't know it was there. He wasn't
there were dark friends in the city, according to Yokota.
Yeah, don't even get me started because he gives a whole speech about how he was sent to go find the Vitamin Field 5 and bring them back, and then he just leaves Perrin. He's like, okay. Because I guess he's got the horn, which was he going there for? We don't even know if he's going. What? Anyway.
Now that you look back, like the dark friend, there may be more than one dark friend, but the dark friend, spoiler alert, wasn't even there at the time.
Well, we just
except that at the time when they shot it, Lord of Yokota was Intar.
Right. That's what I mean. So now looking back, like, oh, he wasn't even there. So like, he knew, but he wasn't.
He was hiding behind a column. We'll get a cold open where Intar's like, oh, I just missed it.
You know, there's more than just.
I want a good explanation.
There's more than just like 5 people in the Fortress of Faldaria. Now he could have been in another room, and we just didn't see him.
What? No, he's in another room. He had to have been in the battle. He should have been. They should say he was in the battle, and we just never met him.
To let the dark friends in. No, he doesn't. Yeah. No, I'm saying just.
Yeah, but he could just tell him the secret knock. Wasn't there like a secret knock or something?
It was it was the password. It was the code.
Yeah, so that's all he has to do. He didn't have to be there.
Well, he let them in the city, I think, right? Didn't he leave open up one of the small gates?
So maybe before he rode out, he just left them.
I guess a question, I don't know if we ever asked this or even talked about this maybe a long while back. Yeah, this is the longest Wild Origin segment ever.
We're already moving into the next segment, really.
Where was there a different plan for the horn before Barney Harris left? Like, did they change it to that because Barney left?
No, I think that was all set in stone for I apologize for but yeah, I think the only change of plans was who was Fane talking to in that scene.
Yeah,
and like then a whole other thing for Perrin to have been doing.
Right. Yeah. Like I think that was always going to be it because they were never going to have like a pool of Sidene hiding a bunch of stuff.
Right.
That was never going to be with them. And like, they were never going to have Rand say, all right, well, I'm going to go back with everybody and then leave. So you could just take this with you. Like, that
makes sense.
Yeah. I think that's what it is. My fear, we did talk about this. I don't want like everywhere he goes to have like a magical item hidden somewhere.
I wouldn't mind that at all. I think that would be funny and hysterical.
Like a video game.
It's like Final Fantasy or something.
Yeah.
We just rewatched that Dungeons and Dragons movie as a family. Have you guys seen that?
Not yet.
It was good.
Really fun.
I really liked it.
But there are it's literally them like, oh, well, before we can do this, we got to go get this item in this random place. And it's like such like a D&D campaign.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect.
Right.
It's just traveling from place to place to get something so you can get something else. So they mentioned in this blurb, right? They'll be revealing exclusive season 2 content. So what is the exclusive season 2 content? Is it the two scenes, the Matt and Elaine scene, or is it a trailer?
I feel like it's got to be a trailer, right? Because we're less than 60 days out at that point.
Yeah,
aren't we already close to less than 60 days out?
That's
like immediately put that on YouTube.
That's like 50 days. That's like 40.
Oh
days
yeah, because the first. Right?
Hold on. So exclusive content. means only available at San Diego Comic-Con.
Yeah, but just then,
Are you sure?
you're not going to get it before San Diego Comic-Con.
But if there's a trailer, it'll be released the same day. No
Right. Then,
question.
of course, it's going to drop on YouTube like right after the panel.
Right.
Yes.
And then I'm going to be up all night trying to analyze the whole thing.
Yeah. And then there'll be 12 hours of trailer guidance.
Dusty will. Yeah.
Yeah, but to me, that's not exclusive content. To
It's
me,
exclusive until it happens.
But exclusive means like only
No,
like what we saw was exclusive. You're not seeing it if you're not here.
But
That's
they'll
true,
see it.
but
They'll
think
see
about-
it first, so it'll be exclusive at the time, right? They'll see it at
Yeah.
San Diego Comic-Con,
Got it.
then it'll be released afterwards.
Yeah. It's like saying only in theaters. It's only in theaters when it's released.
I would argue that those two scenes are not exclusive content because other conventions had gotten them and seen them already.
Yes, so it's not exclusive anymore. Although it is exclusive in a way that only a certain amount of people have seen it.
Yeah.
Right.
I wonder if they'll show a clip similar to the Wine Spring Inn clip they showed for season 1. Maybe like a new clip introducing some characters or something.
Maybe we'll get a land fair scene. No, they won't do that.
This same time before season 1, about 2 months out, if I feel like we had more, right?
The trailer came out, I think, 2 months. It came out in September, right? The first weekend of September. It came out around the 2nd or 3rd of September, or 4th, somewhere around there. So it was almost a full 2 months before.
We
But then-
we had
and then
those
we were
like
getting
6-second videos.
Clips and the little like,
Dropping.
what is an Aes Sedai? What are Trollocs?
Or like the land video. You think you know this world.
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah. Just we had the
We were
sound
like-
video.
That was a
Breaking
teaser.
it
like-
down.
Yeah, with the backward symbol that made me
Oh, and
angry.
they were jumping off the wall.
Right. They're like, you'll
Are you
never
ready?
guess where this is
Yeah.
from.
Oh, yes. Are you ready? No.
Yeah. You ready? No.
The Heron Mark blade. Yeah,
Yes,
okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, Tom's
that
guitar.
stuff was made mostly for us. I don't think
Yeah.
that was like major promo stuff. But then they started putting like Wheel of Time posters and stuff on Amazon packages.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that? They pushed it
Oh,
pretty
yeah.
hard.
They had the bookmarks in the bookstores. You could get those. I feel like I have one somewhere. Somebody got one for me.
They had the big poster in like was it in Times Square or like a little bit down from Times Square?
It was
I
in
don't-
Times Square. They had the one right where the hand was reaching out, the
Oh,
3D poster.
London.
Oh, that was in London.
London,
Yeah.
yeah.
The 3D one. Yeah, that was cool.
They'll
So that
do stuff like that. I think they will do things like that again. I do think that they're gonna push this show hard when they push it.
Yeah.
Probably like
Just-
in August.
August. So that's it, right? Our exclusive season
They were
2
telling
content.
us.
Exclusive season 2 content is a trailer, and our other exciting prizes for attendees is the What Origins episode. That's it. That's what we're saying here, and that is why this is part of the Where's What Origins segment. All right.
That's why I was saying, you, Lauren, you have to hear the end music before you can move on out of the segment. Otherwise, you're steering the segment forever.
That was the longest Where's What Origins segment ever.
Oh, by
But-
far.
Let's get into it. Lauren, you put out a video very recently, a Wheel of Time season 2 story breakdown video that we want to talk about because we love breaking down season 2.
Awesome.
And you did an amazing job on it, and I loved it. I agreed with some stuff. I disagreed with some other stuff, and we're going to
Good.
talk about all of those. But before, so like before we actually get into the contents of the video, right? It's 28 minutes. It's almost a half hour long. There's a lot of information in here, a lot of information that you had to process. Where did you begin with this large undertaking? You had
man.
rap teaser footage, BTS footage, sneak peek footage, promo stills, other little clips.
I tell you, I did this for season 1, but I don't think I had nearly as much to work with. And I think the trailer was already out.
Mhm.
This time I was like, well, I got to do that again. And I when the teasers are released, I immediately download them and like rip them and put all the frames out for everyone.
Right.
And then I use those frames in my own videos where I analyze them. So I have like individual videos for each teaser, including like the season 2 rap teaser and everything.
Mhm.
So, and that's where I talk even more specifically about some of the images and what I think they might mean. So I've been working on this script for quite a while. And it's like in between other projects, when there's news, I drop it and
Mhm.
I do a quick news video and then I go back to it or whatever. The problem is they kept releasing stuff. And so I had to keep I kind of had to start over multiple times, which got kind of frustrating. The promotional images, the 8 promotional images that they released were really when it started to click. So I think about this stuff in my head all the time. I'm like, oh, maybe this is connected to this. But it was when they released those and they accidentally said, oh, these are associated with these episodes, right? These images are part of episode 1. These go to episode 5 and so on. That's when I started to really try to build it into what it finally became. And then they released 4 more promotional images, and there was a clip of Varen, and I was just like, this is never going to end, and I'm never going to finish this. And I had a vacation coming up this last week, and I was like, they're going to release the trailer while I'm on vacation, and I'm going to have to start over again. Anyway, thankfully I was able to finish it. I literally finished it on Sunday before we left last week. So that was a little bit of the process. And then I do this thing where I like to take each scene and break it into like a grid. That's something that's just like a thing I do in all my videos. And I was really inspired by Alt-Shift-X. I don't know if you ever watched those videos for Game of Thrones.
No.
Awesome Game of Thrones episode breakdowns. They do like a really good job of that sort of thing. And so I was kind of inspired by that. But yeah, this is what it turned into. Me attempting to cram all the shots and promotional stills from all the teasers into what I think could be season 2 story. And I hope I'm wrong, if I'm honest. People watch the video. I always have my spoiler warnings. People say, now I feel like I shouldn't have watched this because I know what's going to happen. And I'm thinking, yeah, probably not. I'm probably wrong most of the time. Or at least I hope I am.
Have you gone back to because you did one of these for season 1. Did you go back to see how right you are?
I haven't. I need to do that and people have told me I should do that for this one. Like, we'll see how right you are.
Yeah.
I genuinely hope I'm wrong because I want to be surprised. Also, I start the video off by warning people, gird your loins. There's going to be a lot of changes. Rafe and Sarah say it's going to be even more changes than season 1. And then I proceed to attempt to fit it perfectly into the books.
I know you mentioned that at the end. I thought that was funny that you even like self-actualization there.
So it's, I really do want to be surprised. I also really want it to stay true to the story more than season 1 did. But I recognize there's a reality to adaptation that's not necessarily very real. I do believe we're getting a lot of book 2 and 3 crammed together, and that the season will end in Falma. And, so I make these videos for myself, for people like you who really have your fingers on the pulse of all of this. But I'm also making these videos for people who have never looked up Wheel of Time news until now. And they're like, I wonder what's going on with Wheel of Time season 2. And hopefully my video pops up. And so I feel the need to kind of over explain at times. I also feel the need to be like, look, I'm not saying the show is better than the books. I love the show for what it is, but the books are better. I recognize, because people love to be angry about the show in my comments. And so I'm always like kind of trying to manage some people's expectations.
Yeah.
But anyway, we'll see.
Yeah. I think you were on the same page as you with that. Some people, though, feel the need to trash the show horribly.
Yes.
Even though it's like, okay, listen, we know they made changes, but the show is still pretty good. And you're right, the books are still better, and they're still there. So
yes, and one of the things that annoys me is I obviously put a lot of time into these videos, like too much time. It's a problem. But people will come in, watch like 2 minutes, and then they'll be like, "This was a waste of your time. Why are you doing this?"
Really? Oh my
Lord. And it bothers me because I'm like, well, obviously because I'm passionate about it. It's something I love. Maybe just don't comment.
Yeah.
Like if you're not even going to put 1 minute into thinking about commenting, then I just would rather not. I want to have like a really great, deep, nerdy discussion with people. And some people in the comments have brought up some amazing theories that I'm like, why didn't I think of that?
Yeah.
Some really cool stuff. That's the kind of stuff I'm looking for. I'm not looking for people to tell me how much they hate how Rafe has ruined the show. But everyone feels the need to like make sure I know they feel that way. And I'm like, why are you even engaging at this point?
They just want you to get mad.
Well, they're venting, I think. It's true. Right?
Yeah.
They're just.
Some people are just.
Some people,
rise out of you.
Some people are. Some people, I think, are a little just venting, like they need to say it because like they're frustrated about it, which I get it. But try to be a little bit more constructive. So, yeah, it's a good video. I wanted to get right into it, right? So just talking about in the beginning, you bring up that survey that was like leaked back in January 2022. We talked about it, right? It was basically like a marketing type survey where it gave that blurb about season 2, and mentions Rand hiding in the cosmopolitan city of Falm. And you mentioned that you think it's really Kyrienne, which I think a lot of people are coming to terms with, especially with all the footage we've been getting. And, you know, you'll show some of the pictures in this video here. Do you think that they, and this is for everybody here, obviously, do you think that they did that deliberately, change the name deliberately to mislead people? And if they did, why would they pick Falm and not just make up the name of just make up a name?
I don't know.
I will say this. I don't think if that is the case, they did it deliberately, because otherwise that's like amazingly on the nose for things that are going to like set up for this season. I think it's more likely like they just got it confused. Like, well, it's Falm. What's the city? And then, Falm. Okay. Like, they just put that in. Like, it was somebody who's not involved with the show who wrote that. And I think it's more likely that there was just a confusion there. It does make a lot more sense than him traveling across the entire continent, being in Falm, leaving, going to Kyrienne across the continent again, and then going back to Falm. Yeah, it does. It's a lot of travel.
Yeah, that's a lot of
I guess he could just hide in Falm for a long period of time.
I think that's what we thought when we first, we talked about this when we first read this and this was released, that we were like, well, is he just going to go right to Falm and be there for a long time? And we were talking about like what he could possibly do in Falm. So I think it makes more sense that he goes to Kyrienne to hide. And Kyrienne's much more cosmopolitan than Falm, because we would joke about that too. Like, Falm's kind of a shithole. I don't think it's a very cosmopolitan city. I think it's actually just described as a large town, actually. But it makes more sense that he goes to Kyrienne and that's where he's hiding out. So I like that. I like that that we kind of came to that conclusion after they released all this.
Well, and we now know that Moraine will absolutely be in Kyrienne.
Right? Yes.
And so, and you know, because of like all the amazing stuff that Geeky Area and Watt Series has come up with, it's pretty clear that those scenes that we see Rand walking through, where he looks like he has that kind of ratty coat, are the sets of the Foregate outside of Kyrienne.
Yeah, yeah,
and so he's got to be there, right?
Yeah. I think so. I think that's 100% he's in Kyrienne. I mean, Rosamund was the one who actually first, told us we're going to Kyrienne, right? And it was the New York Comic Con. When she did that little video in the beginning before they showed the teaser. So, I mean, we got confirmation that she was going there. It looks like Yosha's there. I think we've got, I guess I have a question for you, Lauren. We've talked about this in the past. Do you think, so it's basically just happenstance that, or maybe it's Taviran, that Moraine and Land go to Kyrienne. They're not going there to chase Rand, right? What do you think?
Yeah, that's one of the big kind of like holes in my outline that I put together, where I have a hard time figuring out where Moraine and Land start the season. I feel like that scene where they look like they're Moraine's getting attacked by a Murdral on the horse. I feel like that's early, but I can't quite piece how that works. Especially because, and I've mentioned this too, Moraine and Land have their horses.
Oh, I have a whole thing notes here about the horses. We can get
like, how do they have their horses unless they go to Tar Valon? And so, if the season's starting with a time jump, like I think most of us are assuming it is, then my thinking is, okay, then Moraine and Land are probably getting off of a boat with Egwene and Nynaeve in Tar Valon right at the start of season 1, or something to that effect, or entering the city. Or something, dropping them off in the city, not at the tower necessarily. Land goes and fetches the horses. Maybe Moraine even visits with Varen at some point to get an idea of where to go. And I also think there's a small part of Moraine, because she's been banished, maybe she needs to go home to work out some of her Lady of a Fallen House issues that she mentioned in season 1.
Yeah, I was trying to think of that reason too. Like, it doesn't make sense just to go to Kyrienne, just to go reconcile or whatever, face her family. I don't know why she would decide to do that now.
Right.
So I like the idea of her being steered in that direction by maybe Varen or somebody else. I never even considered her going back to Tar Valon. But yeah, the horses, right? Land and Moraine have their horses. As you pointed out in the video, the last time they had the horses was before they went into the Waygate outside of Tarvalon. So it makes sense, right? They're not far from Tarvalon, that the horses would go back there, even though Moraine and Land really haven't been to Tarvalon in like whatever 5, 6, 7 years. I don't know. Maybe she used to weave on the horses.
How about this? Right, where Min flees Faldara, right at the end of the first season. Where do you think she goes?
I think she goes to Tarvalon.
Maybe she goes home to Tarvalon.
Right, her answer.
And maybe that's
cast,
who points Moraine in her new direction.
Also, let's not forget Moraine and Swan have a huge network of eyes and ears. They probably know that a Taviran is in Kyrian.
That's also true.
Especially if they're going to do one of the things I hope they do. My favorite little bits of books 2 and 3 are when the world is affected by these Taviran just walking through their towns.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to see some of that. I want to see Taviran shown instead of told. Because in my opinion, they used the word Taviran a couple times in season 1, but did not explain what it meant.
They said it once in episode 1.
I said there was only once.
Yeah, right at the beginning in episode 1, and then
the end.
Pat and Fane said it.
Yep,
okay.
At the end.
Right.
And he gives a
He
very,
gives
very
the
brief.
most explanation.
Yeah.
And it's not like any like concrete thing.
Focal points of the pattern, I think he says, or something like that.
Yeah, I think he
Right.
says that the pattern like shapes itself around you, but like
I don't even think he gave that much information. I think he just said like focal points of the pattern or something like that.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah, I
very-
want to see
my
people
hope.
getting married and
Yeah.
I want to
falling
see
out of
somebody.
windows.
Yeah, I want to see somebody fall out a window and not get hurt at all. I want to see that
Land
happen.
on their head and then just like bounce right up and be fine. Yeah, like to me, that stuff as wonky as it is, it's a really great way of explaining Taviran. I want to see a coin flip and land on its edge like 5 times in a row. You know, like these kinds of things.
Oh yeah.
These kinds of things to me are a great way to explain what's going on. And then you can have that great comment from Moraine about the pattern isn't evil or good.
Mm-hmm.
It just is. Right.
Yeah.
It's the warp and the woof or whatever she says. Those are the kinds of things I want. Whether we get that or not, I don't know. But my thinking is Lan and Moraine arrive in Tarvalon right at the start, drop off the girls. Maybe they meet with Min. Maybe that's what starts Min on her reconnecting with everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see Varen being met with as well, because I love Varen and I want to see her kind of doing things behind the scenes. My hope is that she and Matt are the two that go chase after the girls instead of Tom. Maybe on a boat, maybe in a waygate.
Yes.
But anyway, so then that also kind of helps connect Matt and Varen later with some things that happen later.
So I could see, right? Like I said, I never thought Lan and Moraine would go back to Tarvalon, but they could do that. And, you know, if she sends word ahead of herself, perhaps Sheriam could meet them at the harbor and take, you know, then,
right.
you know, hand off the girls to her. I mean, that kind of keeps it in line with what happens in the second book. Third book, sorry. No, it is the second book.
Yeah.
I'm still holding on to this, that, right, the Swan, I think you talked about the Swan showing up, that you think she shows up at Kyrian. I think Tom and Jen are also, I think you guys are both also think that. I'm still holding out for her to show up at Faldara, and that's how the season opens, with her showing up at Faldara, because Moraine had sent her just, you know, a message as to what was going on. She goes there because, I mean, she had a lot invested in this too, so it would make sense that she goes there. Because I want to get some closure on some of the things from season 1. I want to know what happened. Like, how does Loyal survive getting stabbed with the dagger?
Yes.
Do you think we're going to get any of that closure?
So the thing I like about that idea, that we actually do start back in Faldara, is you do have things like Swan showing up, Swan and or Rand being trained by Lan for a bit.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is Rand shouldn't be there because the way season 1 ended, he's like, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
So that's tricky. But I said this in my video, I really need Swan and Rand to meet face to face. It has to happen. It only happens once in the books, right? That's in book 2. I think maybe she runs into him briefly somewhere else, but I'm not sure.
Is she there when Rand shows up at the White Tower near the end, when he goes to talk with Egwene in the hall?
Yes, I think she is. I think she's in the room.
Yeah, so that's like the only other time she probably sees him.
So,
face-to-face.
but anyway, so I the other thing is that image of Swan coming out of that Tarvalon carriage looking thing has those blue tiles, which are clearly part of the Kyrian set.
I know. I saw that. I never saw that before until I was watching your video. I didn't look at those tiles.
Well, and Geeky Aries' latest video, she just released it like a day after I released mine. The very end of her video, she shows those images.
Oh, I haven't watched it.
Of the Kyrian set, and they look identical. So my thinking is you get Lan and Moraine rushing to Kyrian after they are in Tarvalon. They somehow find Rand. Probably won't be that hard considering he's Tavirian.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe they're tracking him. Maybe they actually just meet up with him, like show up at the inn he's staying at. I don't know. But then I think Swan will arrive around the same time. And I'm really hopeful that we get that moment where Lan kind of takes Rand under his wing, teaches him a few Malkieri customs to kind of be arrogant in front of the Amerlin. I want to see that kind of dynamic where Rand's trying to become proud and he was always so resistant towards Moraine.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see more of that, you know?
Yeah. I mean, he did a lot of resisting Moraine in season 1. So I think that's going to continue a little bit. And I want to see, but the thing we didn't get in season 1 was the connection between Rand and Lan, right? They seem to dislike each other strongly in season 1. So I agree with you. I want to get the connection because that's an important connection, I think, in the story. Their friendship.
Yes.
Because Lan understands Rand and empathizes with him when most other people don't. They either pity him or think he's nuts. And, Lan actually kind of gets it, like what Rand's going through. So, and I think that's important. So, I don't know. I hope we get that. Go ahead.
I just want to say a couple things. I don't think, I almost don't want Moraine and Swan to see each other again in this season. I feel like I don't even know if I ever want them to see each other again. I don't know how I want that relationship to resolve, but I feel like after that whole emotional, swearing on the oath rod, to just hey, see each other again this season feels like anticlimactic.
And what is the premise for Swan showing up in Kyrian? Especially if it's known that Moraine's there, wouldn't that'd be kind of a bad idea or something.
Right. She can't sneak out in the Amerlin carriage. People are going to have to know where she's going.
Yeah. If she just shows up at Kyrie, go ahead, Tom. Sorry.
I think you're right that it's a bad idea for Swan. And I think that that's important. Right. I think that Swan has to be
that's true,
making bad decisions consistently in this season for the good of the world and the bad of herself.
Yeah.
That lead to her downfall. If she's on top of everything and nobody suspects anything, then it doesn't work, right?
Mm-hmm.
The story, she has to be making these kind of weird, obvious, not normal decisions that people can take notice of and put the pieces together. So,
I agree.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I don't know. I hear you, Jen, about hey, what's up? It's a weird, it's a kind of an anticlimactic meetup for the two of them if they meet again. But I also think they're two of the best actresses on the show, and they're probably gonna want to have more scenes with them.
Well, and you remember we weren't sure if Swan would be in the show after season 2. There was some discussion that she might be killed off rather than deposed or whatever.
Yeah.
And I don't know where that came from. That was probably just a rumor. I don't know that there was any substantial evidence of that.
No,
I think some people thought, she's just a big actress. She probably won't be around much. But now we do know she'll be in season 3, right? Because we saw that wall of season 3 cast, and she was included in that.
Yes.
And so and this is full spoilers, I'm assuming, right?
Yes.
Spoilers. My assumption is that season 3 will be all book 4. But we'll also get to the point where Moraine goes into the Redstone doorframe by the end of season 3. So if we're going to see Swan and Moraine ever see each other again at all, it pretty much has to happen in season 2.
Oh, you mean the Redstone? Okay. Her second trip into the Redstone door.
Her second trip with Lanfear.
Okay. I was about to say, she's probably going to do that at the beginning of season 3, but I realize.
Well, yeah. Saying. But I'm thinking that season 3
I said the same
end
thing.
with Moraine, with everyone assuming Moraine is dead.
I said the same thing. I think they could push the end of season the end of season 3 into Fires of Heaven and push that up. We
That's
talked
a
about
lot
that
of
last week, though, I
stuff.
think.
I mean, there's still a lot they can do later.
The end of that season.
But you could still have them kind of just coming out of the Aiel Waste when the thing with Lanfear happens with the wagons or whatever. That doesn't necessarily have to link up with the war in Kyrian or whatever.
Yeah.
You know?
And they were in, I agree 100%. I think it's possible too. The Swan thing, maybe Veren's with Swan. She's in the part. So like, it's kind of, again, we're jamming it into the books, but we can get that same group of Aes Sedai go with the Amyrlin, but they just show up in Kyrian instead. So maybe Veren's there in Kyrian, but then I don't know. Does she just tag along with Land, and Moraine? Like she figures
And
out
also
he's the Dragon Reborn. Yeah, I don't know what
Alana and Varen are gonna go back with parents, like go with him to the Two Rivers, or they just hear of it. Like, do they go? Are they both gonna do that, or?
I don't know
That's
what.
tough.
Yeah, we don't know how they're going to get from Falm
Yeah.
to the Aiel Waste. That's going to be a big mystery, or it's just going to be. I mean, they could just go by Portal Stone or Waygate, I guess. But
Yeah, they have
Waygate,
to.
yeah. See, I guess I think we won't see Varen meeting Rand this season. She won't be in Kyrian like she was in the book. I feel like Varen's going to be in Tarvalon and involved with the girls and with Matt, and that she will end up in Falma. But I don't see her or the girls or Perrin going to Kyrian.
so then
Right.
she doesn't. She basically finds out he's the Dragon Reborn when basically the rest of the world does. Then in Falm.
Well, except, yeah, there are obvious reasons why she might know more than the regular Aes Sedai too,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So I like the idea that she's the Adelius and Vandine, or however you say those sisters' names,
Mhm.
of the series, that she's kind of like coming out of retirement to kind of get back and involved because she recognizes that the last battle's coming. And I wonder if that could be instigated by Moraine visiting her and trying to learn about the prophecies of the dragon or something.
Yeah.
I think that Moraine has to handle what's going on with her before she's going after Rand, or at least get an answer. Because at the end of season 1, he just left, and she wasn't. I mean, she was like very distraught, but he said, "I'm leaving," and he walked away. And even when Lan got there, she was like, "He's gone." So I feel like she has to handle what's going on with her and the channeling and figure out if she can fix that before she'll decide to go after Rand.
Yeah, you talked about this, Lauren, in your video. I actually made a note of this about the shield, right? You referenced how, Swan is good at untying things. We
Yeah.
see that in the first season. I feel like they had to have put that in there because she's going to be the one to help Moraine untie the shield. But you
I
mentioned
like the idea that she helps Rand figure that out. That she can't do it herself because it was tied with Sidene.
that's
and-
right.
And but she knows something's up. Maybe she'll sense something and she'll be like, I think there's a knot that needs to be untied. And I feel like by the end of season 2, Moraine has to have that shield removed.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I was
think
going to ask.
She probably needs it. Yeah, she needs it to get to Falm.
Right.
Well, I was going to ask
I think,
that. Yeah,
I
when
think
do you
Rand is getting
I know
them to fall.
You do. You think? Yeah.
I have a wild theory that the Waygates are the portal stones.
Mm.
They're one and the same. Rand and Moraine have only seen the Waygate used with the one power, which is obviously not book canon, but that's how they've done it in the show. So my thinking is, after whatever happens in Kyrian, Rand is getting that fancy clothing. My thinking is that's to meet with the Amyrlin, right? Then and I also think Swan is kind of a dreamer in the show. And so she may be like, you need to go to Falma. I don't know. I also think he's going to be taunted by Ishamael and being like, we'll meet on Tomon Head, kind of like what Pat and Fane does in book 2.
Yeah.
Anyway, whatever is going to happen, they're going to go get into a Waygate, but Moraine cannot channel. So she's going to be like, well, you're the dragon. The wheel weaves. Let's try this out. And it's going to go horribly wrong. And this is because I really, really want the Portal Stone Mirror World stuff. I'm surprised how many people are just convinced it's not happening in the show.
Well, I was convinced that they don't really need to put it in there, but then I think Rafe put something out there. Oh no, the chapter titles, right? The episode titles.
What might be.
One of the episode titles is the title of the chapter with Flicker, Flicker, Flicker.
Right.
And I said that Rafe, I don't think Rafe would allow them to use that as an episode title if they did not put the Flicker, Flicker in there. I don't think he would let them do
this
it.
again.
What?
With the chapter titles meaning something for
No,
the chapter titles aren't correlating to what's on the show. We already know that from season
But
1.
what I'm saying is, and I said this in past episodes, is that Rafe knows that all the fans, when they hear that chapter title, they're going to think that Flicker's in there. And if he does not put it in there, then everyone's going to be extremely angry because he used that chapter title. Like they would just pick a different chapter title then if they weren't going to put Flicker in there.
Everyone's already extremely angry.
Yeah, I'm angry that Blood Calls Blood didn't have a dark prophecy.
Right, Blood Calls Blood.
Yeah.
But that being said, I completely agree with you, Joe. And when you said that on your podcast, I was like, yes, someone agrees with me. I was so happy because I heard you say that, and I'm like, that's exactly what I've been trying to say. Like, there are certain chapter titles you can kind of play with. To me, that is not one of them. And what might be doesn't fit for the accepted test because the accepted test is a lot more than what might be. It's past, present, and future in my mind.
What episode
be ready
that
to be
is?
disappointed. That's the accepted test episode.
It could be. It could be.
I'm sorry. I feel like I hope they do Flicker. I do, but I don't think if that's happening where it would happen in the books. I think that the episode titles for that are probably something different, right?
Tom, you put, to be honest, when we talked about those episode titles, you actually had what might be as episode 7, like me.
Yeah.
And Jen, you had it as episode 3.
That's hope. That's the same hope.
That's the accepted test.
Yes, that's the accepted test. That's what Jen.
So that's exactly why I'm holding out hope. I'm completely understanding if they don't do it.
Yeah.
And I will be disappointed, but I don't think I'll be that disappointed. I'm just really holding out hope. I also think I get this comment a lot. It's really expensive to do something like that, kind of a one-off thing that never happens again. And B, people say it has nothing to do with the overall story. That's where I disagree.
Doesn't.
It's so important to the ending. It's so important to the weaving of the pattern and the different mirror worlds and the different what might be situations that come up in the very end. So to me, it is necessary. But
I don't know. It's a nice thing to have. Nice to have, I would say, but I don't think you need it. I think more importantly, it's not even what Rand goes through. It's because we kind of got some of that already in the first season, at the end of the first season, right? With Rand and Egwene and the baby. So we already got that part of it. But the mention of how Ingtar's reaction to coming out of it, and doesn't he mumble something to himself as well? Is it him?
Ingtar and Matt.
Matt is like, I would never betray you.
I'll never betray you, Rand. Yeah. And it's clear he betrayed him all the time.
Yeah, and Perrin too. Perrin looks like he wants to tear his eyes out.
Yeah,
you know, like.
Yeah. And I think I think those things. Like Rand never thinks about that really throughout the rest of the series. It's clear he is thinking about it maybe when you're not in his head, but I do think like if you're rereading book 4 and book 5, I'm doing right now, Matt's constantly like, I should just leave this guy, and I can't, right? Mm-hmm. And he chalks it up to Ta'veren-ness, which I think it is in part, but I think it's also like. He knows what will happen.
Yeah.
If Rand needs him and he's not around, you know?
Yeah.
But that's not gonna happen. I don't think Matt and Rand are traveling together.
Right. Or the Shinarans.
Wait till Matt finds out. Matt doesn't know.
What, that he's a dragon?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
That's true.
That's true.
Well, he can find out from the girls if he sees the girls.
That's true. That's what I'm saying.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, I don't even like if Moraine and Land don't meet back up with the girl. Like, I don't even know how much. Like, are Nynaeve and Egwene gonna know?
Well,
like if Moraine and Land have to come back and tell them what happened, Moraine doesn't tell anybody anything.
Moraine's gonna tell them all that he's dead.
No,
right?
She's
that was his ask. That's what she let Land know.
She can't say he's dead.
She can't say he's dead.
No, she can say he's gone. That's what.
Right, he's gone, and they'll take it to mean he's dead.
Right.
But
like he says,
that's horrible if she tells them that.
That's even if she goes back to Faldar.
Right. I don't even know if she'll go back at all.
Yeah.
Like, does she have like her purse there or something to go?
She only has one. She only has one outfit.
Right, she only has one outfit. What's the point of going back?
Well, they would need horses. They'd probably want to
See,
get
now I'm
horses
going
or-
back
They
and forth.
Waygate back
Or
to
ship.
Darvalon.
or ship or take the or Waygate.
Oh no, they can't. They know
Right.
there's Trollocs in the ways. So why is everyone jumping in the ways now that they know there's Trollocs in the ways?
Well, I mean, the Trollocs aren't the
Right.
scary part. Matching Shin's worse. I wouldn't be
I
worried
know, but
about
if
the
you get a
Trollocs.
Trolloc in there, you have to fight it. And that's
So let's say that the Waygate isn't the Portal Stones, or that they're not doing any of that flicker stuff. They're not doing that weird mirror world stuff where he meets Selene. It all just happens in the real world. I still think you could have a bit after Kyrian where Rand is trying to get Moraine and Land into the Waygate using the power, and something goes wrong, and they end up in Falma but separated, and maybe time has passed. I can still see something weird like that
Yeah.
happening.
yeah.
I also think, well, I hope we see the Waygate key, like the trefoil leaf key
Yes.
in season 2,
I think we
Yeah.
will.
because
Well, that
Pat
was
and Fane is
yeah.
probably going to be using the ways,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Maybe Varen as well. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even think
Or
about that.
Leandrin, but
Yeah.
Leandrin could just channel, I guess.
So
Anyway.
But every time you have to get out of the ways, like if you're channeling,
You have to
just, like,
attract
channel
Majin
fast
Shin.
and run out. Like
Yeah.
right,
Yeah,
that's like how
and
you do
Moraine
it.
is so slow.
Yes.
Like, come
Very
on,
slow.
could you hurry it up a little?
Well, he was already there. It was chasing.
That's true.
She was very slow though, channeling. I agree
But I
with
like
you
that. I kind of like how deliberately bad at channeling. Not bad at channeling, but she was just very careful with her hand movements and like and then at Nynaeve is just like an explosion of power.
Yeah.
There's no control to it. I had liked that contrast.
I think, yeah, Moraine's very patient and like cool headed and just like, I'll do it when I do it. All right.
Well, Nynaeve's not really casting weaves or like
Yeah.
she's
Yeah.
just
Except
like,
she is though. She's like
she
killed
is,
all
but
those
she's not
people.
like specifically like picking
Right.
a weave to do. It's just like bam,
She's just
and
like,
like,
just,
the
like,
weaves come
intuitive.
out. Like yeah,
she's just throwing a bunch of threads out there and
yeah.
like
See
throwing
what
spaghetti
sticks.
against the wall. I want to talk about something else too that I really didn't notice until I watched your video, Lauren. You talked about the clip with Pat and Fane and then compared it to the Dark Friend social. Now,
Oh yeah.
we've looked, right? We've been looking at this Pat and Fane clip and trying to figure out where the set is because it doesn't match any of the sets from season 1, and I don't think we've seen anything from season 2. So your theory is that that's the Dark Friend social, the same location.
Yes, and the reason why is pretty slim reasoning, but the sconces that hold the torches match in both rooms.
I
But
I'm-
the
I'll
show
buy it.
always reuses stuff like that, so I can't guarantee. Like, and I mentioned it in my video, it also could be him like entering a Shan-Chan thing and talking to like Turok or something. Like, I don't know, but I like to put those two things together because I like the idea of seeing this like hot fuzz neighborhood watch alliance group of dark friends meeting. If you've seen that movie, which is the best movie ever.
yes.
I like the idea of that, but then pulling back the curtain a little bit, either beforehand or after, and seeing someone like Pat and Fane who we can connect to it, leaving or coming or going or something. Because that's what happens with Boars.
Well, how do you
when
get
Boars,
to the Dark Friend social?
I don't
Is it
think it's
green?
clear. I don't think it's clear how he gets there. But remember, afterwards, Boars like goes back to his rooms, and there's those creepy servants that seem like dead in the eyes. They're like soulless servants. And he goes back to his rooms, and then that's when it mentions that he takes off his mask and gloves, and he's got a white sunburst with a shepherd crook or whatever. Like, I like that there's some sort of after the meeting situation, and so I guess I kind of want that to be Pat and Fane instead, because
like
that would kind of
coffee-
help give us that connection.
coffee. They'll have-
Yeah, like a little coffee before he goes back home or
afterwards.
whatever.
It's like an AA meeting or something.
Cough. It's cough.
They have some coffee afterwards.
Cough, yeah.
Yeah,
Speaking of Pat and Fane, though, like, what's the deal with the dagger? Why does he have it? Is it affecting him the way it did in the books?
I assume they're gonna dive into that story with the dagger and Fane. And
But he's probably not Mordeth. Like that didn't happen. Right?
no, there's no Mordeth. But he could just be. He doesn't need to turn into Mordeth. He could just be consumed by the evil of the city.
It
But, like-
actually bothers me that there was a shadow. There was a person that guided Matt to the dagger.
Yeah,
He saw a shadow.
They
And
can't-
the one thing we know about Mordeth is that he can't cast a shadow.
Oh,
So I'm thinking, was it Pat and Fane? Was he there? We heard the whistle.
yes.
But
he
I
was
don't
there.
think they could be like, oh, when I was there, all the stuff like we didn't even really know he was there. Like you can't.
So
just say all
my
this shit.
feeling is there has
Unless
to
it's
be
like
a cold open.
Well, maybe it's a cold open.
That's what I think. There has to be a cold open or a flashback.
Flashback, cold
could be
open.
crappy. I don't know how we feel about.
How does he get the
but-
dagger? Where did he get it from? We see Lan have it, right? Lan picks it up the last time,
and
when
that's the
Moraine
last time we see it.
And then Fane has it all of a sudden.
He got it from his
Leandrin?
friend in the tower, Leandrin.
Leandrin's the
Right.
person.
So I feel like they need to fill in those gaps. I mean, you mentioned that scene where he says you all have a part to play. Like,
Yes.
It seems obvious that in that moment he was supposed to steal the dagger from Matt. And
You think Matt would
and
still
sheathe it.
have the dagger?
Yeah, good point. I don't know. Was Matt supposed to be healed in Tarvalon?
Well,
I don't know.
Pat and Fane could have the dagger, and then Matt could see it, and all of a sudden, maybe start like either jump for it or just, have a sense of like the dagger pulling towards him. Which could be an indication that he's not fully healed, or I don't know. Maybe he just sees it and kind of shies away from it because he remembers how awful it was. But you could still have Pat and Fane have the dagger, like Matt not have it. Pat and Fane still has it, shows up with it, and then Matt just reacts to it in whatever way they want.
That's true. Tries to grab it or something, and then
or jumps away from it. I don't know. I'd like to find out how he got the dagger. I guess maybe it was Leandrin. I'm not sure. But I love the idea that that's the Dark Friend social. Pat and Fane's on his way or he's leaving the social. It'd be pretty funny. I wonder if he'll be there. He'll be at like is there like a changing room where they all go into and put on their black cloaks and
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of like a hotel. They all have their own private rooms, and then they go to the conference.
I thought it was like in Teleron Riyadh.
It is.
I thought it was a dream shard.
is it?
Right?
I thought it was in Ishamael's palace in the Blight.
But how do you get there?
Oh,
Maybe through your dreams. I don't know.
Yeah.
No, I think
Unclear.
they get summoned. And it could,
like traveling?
so yeah, I think sometimes they're taken through gateways if it's physical, but I feel like some of them were also just pulled there in their dreams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember the Dark Friend social because didn't he also like he gave them all each individual instructions that the other people couldn't hear, and then he created like the image of the three boys.
Pictures.
Yeah. So I don't know. I thought that was a dream shard. I think.
Yeah, but then why do they need a room in a dream shard?
Why aren't they just sent back to their bed or whatever?
Yeah, why aren't they just like in the room and then they're out of the room?
Yeah, I
Why
guess
is he walking down a hallway like
so. Maybe it was
arrived somewhere.
Maybe it was his
I think
palace.
it's because you don't want any chance of your evil robes being seen in the regular world. So you want to change before
Well, if it's
you leave.
real, if it's the real world.
It's also one of those things where early books, Robert Jordan didn't have some of this stuff pinned down.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like
It
that's
didn't
true.
matter. Whatever.
I'm not sure that dream shards were invented
Yeah.
when
Right.
book one was written, even though they're all over book one.
Yeah.
You know?
Mhm.
I want to talk a little bit about Egwene and also the accepted test. So you mentioned, you said you had a theory about this that you were going to discuss at a later time. Can we get a little sneak peek of what your theory is about
this
this?
is the later. This is the later
good.
time.
Yes,
I'll never discuss it
exclusive.
again.
This is exclusive
So
content.
this came to my mind because I was watching the Dusty Wheel as they were trying to figure this out, and I agree that it doesn't make sense if they're trying to make season 3, book 4. It doesn't make sense that the girls would go back to Tarvalon first. It makes sense that Egwene and Matt and Rand and Moraine and Land will go with the Aiel to the Waste at the end of season 2 or beginning of season 3, and that there will be no pit stop in Tarvalon. So the problem with that is if Egwene and Elaine don't get their accepted test in season 2, which I'm pretty sure they're not, pretty sure it's only Nynaeve, when do they get it? And my personal theory is they don't.
Mm-hmm.
Because it actually is better for Egwene's overall story arc to keep her a novice. That's my theory.
I agree.
It doesn't
The
matter.
problem with that is they won't have rings. So will they be faking being Aes Sedai? That I don't know. Maybe Egwene kept some of those rings she gave back to Moraine.
That's you
She
guys
kept a
think-
couple.
I
don't know.
You sound just like Tom and Jen, Lauren.
I never said that about the rings. Didn't you say
You
that?
said that she stole them from the White Cloak, so maybe she gets them
no.
again, right? Didn't
No.
she?
I think I said like
Okay.
they very clearly show you that like she has there's rings collected somewhere else. She has them. So yeah, maybe Valda's with the white cloaks and she gets some other ones from him in Falm, or maybe she gets them from Aes Sedai who are captured in Falm, or she pocketed some. She didn't give them all back, whatever it is.
Know.
I like that one the least because that seems like shady, but
3 of them fell off in her pocket. Oh my god, I didn't know these were in
Because
here. They fell in my pocket.
Both Elaine and Egwene pose as Aes Sedai, and Elaine with the Aiel, and then Elaine with the Kin.
And the Windfinders,
and
like the sea folk.
Yeah,
yes.
the whole stuff. So hey, how about this?
Well, they are Aes Sedai at that point.
So my theory is
in Ibudar. Yes.
Yes, in Ibudar they are, yes.
So my theory is that the Black Aja hunting mission that they get sent on in book 3 by Swan happens in this book.
Yeah.
And Liandrin cons them into saying, I'm on the mission too. Let's go.
Mm.
And that's how they go with her. But Swan could give them the rings and say,
yeah, one of the tricks is
with you.
But they don't have.
What about the gem?
Pockets.
Because we know Nynaeve will have her accepted ring, but will she be given a gem by Swan?
That's what I'm saying. Swan could say, in case you need this, like you're going to go out in the world, you're going to hunt Black Aja. Like if you need the cover of the tower, you can.
It's interesting then.
Oh, that's even worse for Swan. If
maybe this doesn't matter.
Passing out rings.
I would accept that. If Swan gives them rings, I would.
Rings.
I still don't like.
I don't like that either.
I don't like that they don't go through the accepted test though.
So the other thing is they could go through the accepted test later, as like in Saladar or something. Like who's to say that the Aes Sedai who flee don't have some way to still do the accepted test in the show? I mean, I don't know. I'm just spitballing.
I mean, they could sneak into the room, I guess.
Because I do like the narrative things that the accepted test does. It helps kind of set up fears and expectations for these characters' future storylines, and that's important. And I don't want to miss out on that for Egwene, and I would like to see Elaine's as well. I just wonder if it will happen later. I just wonder if Egwene will get her training in the Aiel Waste first. Tanchico might happen, then the accepted stuff happens.
I mean, Rafe did say in the JordanCon video, or Sarah might have said, I forget, one of them said that they're going to go back to that same set in season 3 for a short period.
True.
So, I mean, I don't necessarily need to see the whole accepted test. Just the fact that we know that they went through it is what really means more to me than actually seeing it.
Interesting.
I think Elaine. I think
that
it
could
makes
be
more
Elaine.
sense for Elaine to go back and then go to Tanchico. I don't like that, but that makes more sense to me than Egwene going back and then going to the, like, she has to go with everyone to the Aiel Waste. Elaine only needs Nynaeve to go to Tanchico.
Yeah, if they had already discovered traveling, it would be a different story where it's like, you need to go back to take the accepted test, you're ready, and then they tell it, whatever, they travel there. But you're right, it doesn't make sense to go through, like, the ways or whatever, all the way back to Tarvalon. Then just...
It's also possible gateways will be discovered sooner.
It could be. I mean, that would make sense then. They just take a gateway back.
Lanfear could show Rand how to do a gateway. Well, she can't though, right? Because it's woman to man. She needs a man.
Oh, man. What if Asmodean shows up earlier, too?
Oh, God, no. It's too much.
Interesting.
Well, yeah. So I've been thinking about, like, what are the motivations for Matt getting to Falma? If he goes with the girls and Liandrin, then fine. Yeah. We do know that there's that scene with him meeting Liandrin. So they're creating that connection. So maybe she'll be like, yeah, you need to come too. And maybe he'll just hitch a ride with that group. Min too, for all we know. Maybe she'll be there too. But I just like the idea that Matt's kind of doing his own thing in the city. The girls disappear. He recognizes, oh no, they're in trouble. And similar to the book 3 arc, he hitches a ride on a boat to try to go save them. I want to see that
happen. I think that's what's going to happen.
If he finds out Liandrin's a Dark Friend, and that's all like, and I do like I think you said it in the video, right? Like he finally he takes his trip in the ways
Yeah, that's
that
another.
he avoids in season 1.
Well, I was trying to think. Okay, I like the idea of episode 4 ending with pretty much everyone entering the ways. In Kyrian, you've got Rand, Moraine, and Lan. In Tarvalon, you've got Leandrin with the girls, and then you've got Perrin with the Shinarans entering the ways. But I was thinking it has to happen a little bit later with Matt, because I really like the idea that Varen shows up and she's like, "We need to go save them," and she's the one who guides him through the ways. That's how that makes sense. But then he has to make that step. You know, he has to be brave like he couldn't be in the first season. But this time it's to save his friends instead of to maybe be the dragon. So it fits within a Matt character to do that, you know?
Yeah. Huh.
You think Matt's just like completely forgotten about going home?
Well, I think that's why I think that's why I agree with Lauren. I think it's going to be more of a season 3 storyline where he hears something at the tower. Like Tom said, either he figures out Leandrin's a dark friend, or he hears something that he knows they're in danger. So Matt being who Matt is, he's going to go help them. He's thinking about going home, or whatever, seeing the world. But then he's always trying to do something, Matt. And then something always happens where he's like, oh, now I got to go help them or do this or do that. So I think that's what's going to happen. How he gets there, I don't know. I like the Varen theory, Lauren, that the two of them travel together. That'd be an interesting to see the two of them spend some time together. Yeah. Whether they use the ways or not, I don't know. Maybe they do take a boat. I mean, it's a long trip all the way to Falm, everyone who's going there. So,
I mean, someone's going to be on a boat, right?
Yeah,
I sure hope so. We've got Bail Domon
here, so we need to.
And if I remember correctly, he was involved with like early season shooting, not necessarily late season shooting, right?
Well, he's in Falm, right? He gets captured by the Seanchan in book 2.
I hope he's not
in
a
book
Basil
2
Gil
early on.
situation.
That's true.
Yeah, that's like
I worry about that too.
Where
like the first chapter,
somebody passes him on the dock and they're like, "Mr. Domon," and like that's it.
Yeah.
And we're like, "Oh,"
or it literally is just in the captions. He says one word and it shows his name.
Maybe like Rand gets off the docks at Kyrian and it's just he's like, "Thank you, Captain Domon."
Yep.
And it's like,
what's the name of the guy that hates Rand on the first?
Florin Gelb.
Florin Gelb. Yeah, he's just like giving him the dirty eye, and that's
yes in the background. Yeah, that'd be great if they brought Phil Snowden back just to be that character, just to give him a dirty look.
Steve is Florin Gelb.
Steve gives.
So it's funny because as much as they have to pack into this season, if Kyrian doesn't happen till episode 4, and I'm guessing, mostly 5 through 8 is going to be mostly Falma and a lot of things that build up to that. There's actually quite a bit that could happen in the first 3 episodes that we don't really know. And I like the idea that Matt enters the snakes thing at the tower early on in season 2. I didn't include that here because there's no evidence that that's happening.
Yeah.
But, you said like, why wouldn't he go home to the 2 rivers if they're in trouble? Because the snakes told him he has to go to Ruidion, so he went there.
He's right now he's kind of being held prisoner, and that's the scene that they released at Comic-Con. He's being held against his will at the White Tower. So
right, but he's making an escape plan. What if he ends up in a room full of Terangrial or something?
The room right next door has just got the red stone doorway. I like that.
Yeah, maybe. Or no, forget it.
You were gonna. Okay.
I was just gonna say something. Oh, so something about your breakdown that like surprised me, which isn't. It's one of the pictures that they told us what episode it's from, the one where Loyal and Sora.
Yes.
I thought that would be like way later.
Right, me too.
I didn't realize that was episode 5. Yeah. I would have said like episode 7. So like at that point, they already captured Loyal for 4 episodes.
So this brings up a good question.
4? He's already dressed. So
I kind of pause it in my video that we aren't really learning about the Seanchan until episode 5. So if episode 4 ends with them entering the Waygate, episode 5 starts with Perrin and the Shinarans exiting a Waygate and then having to deal with this crazy army that's in the West. I like the idea of kind of keeping it till then, but there's also a part of me that's like, no, they're probably going to establish the Seanchan early on. Mm-hmm. You're probably going to have a Bail Domon situation where he shows up and gets, his ship gets taken over. Maybe he even meets Egionin, however you say her name.
Mm-hmm.
I like that idea too. But I've been trying to figure out, how do the Seanchan actually get introduced? They were the big cliffhanger of season 1. Can they wait all the way until episode 5 to even introduce them? That seems like a long wait.
I don't think so. I think we'll get some maybe exposition early on, like a conversation between Turok and Soroth, just kind of giving a little bit of background. And we might also see, I would like to see some of the Damane Saldam relationship also early on, so that like this is a terrible, terrible situation. Maybe we get that, what's her name? Who's the head of the Blue Aes Sedai who says, I'm going to go west?
Maigan.
Maybe we get her, we see her captured and like trying to resist and kind of being broken. And then that puts higher stakes on it when Egwene gets collared.
Yeah, I just wanted to...
Interesting.
I'm probably going to say the same thing, but I just wanted like Egwene to like come across her, like just like all crouched down in the corner, like a full Damani.
There was an Aes Sedai, right, in the pens who had been broken when Egwene's there.
I can't remember who it is, but I think whatever. This is like, I think you don't see Falm until the end of episode 1, and that's how episode 1 ends, with Maigan getting there.
Yeah, maybe she sees Maigan in the beginning of episode 1, because I want Egwene to know who she is, because I don't know if like they ever...
Yeah, that would be a good way to connect it. Like,
and they're like leaving.
She's on her way leaving as Egwene is entering the tower or something.
And they're like, oh, that's the head of the Blue Aja.
Whatever. I also just I love that idea that Jen said, that we just see this woman cowering in the corner and we connect it to season 1, and it's never really explained clearly. And maybe she says something like, I was an Aes Sedai once.
Well, they're going to show it. They're going to show her in the last time on the Wheel of Time.
Yeah, then you'll
see
know.
her scene. That's what they always do. Like, oh, all right.
Seeing her say the word west like 5
Yeah.
times. Going west. It's time to go west. There's something going on out in the west.
Wink, wink.
Here's a theory that you had, Lauren, in here that I didn't agree with or particularly like.
This is where you're wrong, Lauren.
I've been agreeing with most of the stuff he has, so I want to pull up something that I didn't agree with. You have Ishamael killing Turok. That was one of your theories.
The only reason I have that is because I don't see how Rand becomes a Blade Master. In the way that to be fair, even in books 1 and 2, he has little time to become a Blade Master.
Yeah.
It's already kind of like straining credulity that it will happen. Like
because he's channeling.
I know he's Taviran. I know he can channel. I know that he's Luce Theron.
I think he also
I know that he goes through the Flicker worlds, and maybe he's influenced by that. But if he goes through the Flicker worlds, can't he also be the best channeler by the time he comes out of that too? Because he'll have lived all those lives channeling. He'll know how to channel. He
gets lucky fighting Turok. Even in the books, it's kind of like he's fumbling around and kind of just gets lucky. I think it's more Taviran than anything.
Yeah. So I guess I just like the idea that Ishamael is really the one that he's facing. That's what matters.
Yeah.
And the Turok thing is almost more of a nod to the fans than a full fight. As much as I say that, I still want to see him defeat someone, and it would be really cool to see that happen. I want to see his servants who are all surrounding him in those images, rather than fighting Rand, just like cut their throats. That's creepy.
Yeah,
it shows how cultish it is to be a Shan-Chan. I like that a lot. So I still kind of want that. I just have a hard time believing Rand could defeat a Blade Master. Then again, he's got those like 8-inch nails. Maybe that's what slows him down.
Yeah. We all predict those nails are going to get broken early on in the fight.
I think they're detachable. I don't think they're real nails.
That'd be
he's
cool.
He's got him out when he's holding the sword, though.
Yeah. He does.
He's looking like he's planning to fight with them.
Yeah.
I do think it's a good, whatever, I would say it every time. I think it's a very good, like, visual sense of Rand denying his power to, like, break his nails in a fight. And I've heard people posit, and I don't know if this is true or not, but I like it, that he doeson fight him alone. That's where Perrin and Matt and Rand reunite, is fighting.
I like that too. I like that too.
And then, like, Perrin and Matt go on to do whatever they're doing, while Rand goes off.
They just run through.
They have the horn
and then run past again.
Do you think we get because I don't think Matt's getting the dagger back. I just don't think that makes sense.
No.
But do you think we get a bloated, blackened corpse from the dagger scene?
No, 'cause I think he already
I-
stabbed somebody with the dagger, and that didn't
He's-
happen to them.
But it was Loyal.
But
it-
nobody else in that
apparently-
room got stabbed by the dagger.
I think they were
Only
still
Loyal?
Not clearly.
they
It
were
wasn't
getting
clearly
killed
shown.
by the merge roll potentially. But yes, I feel like I was a little upset that they took that away. That's one of my favorite scenes in the entire book is when the first kill with the dagger when Pat and Fane.
And everyone, even like the soldiers, are like, "What? Wait a minute." Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wait, no, it's not Pat and Fane. It's Matt who does it, right?
He
Matt
just like
does it.
nicks
Yeah.
somebody, doesn't
Yes.
he?
Yes. He nicks
Doesn't
one of
he
the
really?
one of the guards, and the guy just like turns black and shrivels.
Maybe
and
they just
Hussy.
didn't have the money, not the money, but the time at the end of season 1 to do it. So they just said, all right, we'll have him stab Loyal with it, and then we'll just say he was an Ogier, and that doesn't happen to them.
Yeah.
And then next
So-
season we'll stab a human with it, and then we'll see it.
So this is
Daniels.
another reason. This is another reason why I think we may see a steading in the show is because somehow Perrin's group has to make it to Falma. I can't think of a better way than Loyal guiding them through a waygate nearest steading.
Mhm.
But also, Rafe said that thing about that answer. That's answer best found in the steading or something related to why Loyal didn't die from the dagger.
Yes, yes, yes.
So that makes me think that there's going to be some sort of conversation there where it's like, well, it's a good thing you're an Ogier and you can heal quickly here in this steading before you take off or something weird.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So annoying.
I just
hate
want to.
that.
I just want to know. I know it. It bothers me just because, like, you didn't have to show Pat and Fane stabbing him. You could have just showed one of the
Right.
Mergel stabbing
I say
him.
it every week that it's like
Yeah.
it's that motion that like you're dead. That's the you're dead motion.
Yes. It wasn't just a stab. It was a stab
It was
and then
the
like
twist.
an extra
That-
twist.
Well, that's the
You
intent.
know that like. I
So
know, but
this kind of makes me think back to our earlier conversation. Maybe we do start in Faldara, and maybe we start right after the ending of season 1, and we see some of the fallout of that. We see people trying to help Loyal. We see, and then we kind of skip forward in time
Mhm.
in the same episode. I didn't love how they did that whole 1 month later thing in was it episode 5, but
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
they do something like
Yeah.
that. Maybe they show some of the fallout. And then we skip ahead, like, oh, now they're on the road chasing the horn that we found out about in the first act, or whatever. And then that's how they do that. Maybe we do still get Faldara. I just think it's better to get them started right on the road. Like they're
It
already
is-
out and
Yeah.
about.
it is weird. Like if it just starts and they're already out, like you don't even know who Intar is. You've never met him before.
Right.
There's
like,
no
how do you
real
just be like,
introduction to him.
I'm the Lord. I'm Lord. Like what? Who are you? You never even like. It'd be weird. It'd be like an awkward
Yeah,
thing.
it would be different if.
And
if
Elias, unless they meet him on the road.
no,
I
they're.
think
Oh yeah, well they could be
I
going
think
to Elias.
meeting Elias is like the thing that they're doing when you first, like basically when you
I
first
think
get
so
them, like,
too.
Yeah.
the trail is dead. We need the best tracker we know. We have to go find this guy.
But also like Loyal's at the like. When did Loyal get healed? You know what I mean? There's like not enough time to just like run after the horn, which is like what you feel like they should just like gather everybody up and go.
I
Right.
know.
You're chasing them. It's not like you could just take a month to
I know,
like
I know.
recuperate. It's
Well,
weird. I don't
so
know.
speaking of Intar too, the best thing about Intar's story to me is that sort of redemption moment he gets with Rand.
Mhm.
But by all accounts, they're never going to meet each other. So how does that get resolved? Does it get resolved?
Maybe he does that with like Perrin.
Perrin,
Oh,
yeah.
'cause- oh, you mean like how Rand is like Jesus and like
Yeah, kind of.
Random absolves him of sins.
yeah.
Yeah, he does, and I think it's a really cool moment. And then
Maybe-
Intar sort of feels like, oh, I'm going to sacrifice myself to save the group.
Well,
It's
here,
a special moment, I think.
I mean,
Here
you could do that, but
so-
just not get like
so-
not have that conversation.
so you can do that, and you do it with Perrin, and it means a lot more because of Perrin's guilt of killing his wife. So
Oh.
he
like it's okay. to
he
move
yes
on.
he
Yeah.
forgives him, and in the forgiveness to Intar, he finally like lifts that burden off of him, like, and comes to terms with his killing of his wife.
Yeah, you're right, because it's good for Perrin's character too, and hopefully killing some White Cloaks in season 2.
Yes, he'll have
He
other
has to do
people that he
that,
killed to worry about.
I kill a lot of people, Jack. I think, yeah, it changes it because I mean, when Rand does it, it is very Christ-like, right?
Right.
It's very much like, and I don't think that Perrin will have the same thing. I think Perrin is going to be more like I'm forgiving you and I'm forgiving, like you said. I think it'll be more of like a external, internal kind of have the same struggle thing.
Yeah, I like that actually.
Yeah,
the original pilot episode for season 1 had more Christian symbolism and stuff. They had like the slaying of the lamb in the pool, some other weird things like that.
Oh.
I know that Rafe was religious for a time. So I think he almost went a little too far with some of that. So I actually like that they cut, because as much as I like that the Wheel of Time borrows from all these things, I don't want it to just feel too Christian. I want it to feel like it's everything that it's borrowing from, not just one.
Yeah. There was one other thing too I wanted to talk about before we go, and it was about Ishamael and the bloody woman. Now I think we're basically on the same page here, right? We think it's him freeing Lanfear. I wanted to ask you if you had any theories about where this takes place.
Yes. Well, I've talked about this a few times in some of my videos, and I don't actually know if I believe it. I act like I do. But basically, in Origins of the Wheel of Time, the book, we found out that originally there were going to be 7 eyes of the world.
Yes,
right?
That's right.
And that they were kind of going to be important focal points that were like the Quendiar seals, I think, or something like that. And then we got season 1, and we got this giant seal on the ground that's very different from the palm-sized seals in the books. And I thought, I wonder if they're going to have, and Rand has this sort of like vision of Luce Theron at that location doing something. And it almost feels like, rather than taking or making the seals at Shayol Ghul, which, by the way, I don't know if Moraine or anyone knows Shayol Ghul exists, because she thought when they went to the Eye of the World in season 1 that they were going to the Dark One's prison. So history had been messed up so much that they don't even know where the Dark One's prison actually is located.
Or is that where the Dark One's prison? Where is that? Did they change it?
Is that one of the 7 focal points where the prison is? I don't know. So I guess my theory is maybe there are 7 locations across the world that are like lost to history. The Black Ajas removed it from the Tower archives or whatever. And Ishamael knows where those locations are, and he's working on freeing the different Forsaken from those places. And so we'll see that sort of pit that's very similar to the Eye of the World pit in season 1. He'll go there and free Lanfear. She'd be one of the first that he would free. The question is, will we see him free all the Forsaken? Or will he kind of bring them out gradually? That's where I don't know if I like the theory, because I like the idea that when Rand cracked that one seal, they all got freed.
Right.
But it feels like Ishamael's doing something to pull them out of something. So I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean,
maybe he's pulling them all out in that scene, but we just haven't seen it yet. Or maybe they're all like there, but you just see
that's
him
why they're all covered in blood. You don't see all their faces or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Like
definitely.
Yeah.
In the books, they don't all come out at once, though, do they?
They kind of do.
They kind of don't. And Balthamel are kind of out first.
Right. So Bazamon or Ishamael is sort of like phasing in and out every 1,000 years, right? And then he shows up for about 40 years, phasing in and out. And then he goes back in. And then Agenor and Balthamel, they're so close to the edge that they're like all rotted. And then anyone after that, they all kind of release around the same time, right? I think.
Well, we get...
And they find different strongholds across the world.
So, right, so we got Lanfear in book 2.
I think they're all out at the same time. We just don't know what they're doing.
I'm just trying to...
In book 3, you've got Belal and Samael already, and Ravine.
Is Ravine out at that point?
That's book 3. Yeah, because Rand overhears Ravine planning to kill the girls, which is
Matt.
Here.
That's why
Matt. Yeah,
that's why he goes to follow them. Yes.
And Mogideon, I think, is messing around with the dark or with the Black Aja, but
like is Masana out at that point too?
I imagine. Yeah, I imagine that Semirog.
Yeah,
Semirog's
it's probably
over
over
she's gone to Shan Chan.
It's probably a pretty short period of time that they're all released over.
Oh, and considering the whole series is like 3 years.
But there's also there's a time jump from when book 3 starts. They've been up in the mountains, right, for
a couple months.
For a couple months. So at that point, you're right. They're probably all released. So they could have gotten all released over the course of a few weeks or months or whatever. But
and there is that ship captain who's like, that High Lord Salmon just kind of showed out of nowhere.
Yeah, that's book 3 also, right?
Yeah, that's book 3, and that's Samael, right?
Yeah.
No, that's Belal.
So, was Salmon? I thought Salmon was. No, you're right. That's because the guy's from Tyr, and you're right.
Oh, Lord Bren.
Belal.
Okay. Bilal is just like absolute nothingness.
Well, he's so
Although-
they can do right. They can. You were talking before, Lauren, about how they get like why does Rand go to Falm, and I mean they could do what they did in the Dragon Reborn. Right, Bilal's messing with everybody's dreams and keeps showing them Kalendor.
Yeah.
So they can just do it, and he's just leading them to, and maybe it is a Shamael instead, and he's just leading him to come to Falm because he keeps seeing it in the dreams. Maybe they're all seeing it in their dreams too.
See, and I still think Ishamael is going to be the main one who's doing that. I think Rand's going to have his the stuff from book 1 where he sits down and Rosamund sort of has little monologues. I think we're going to see more of that in season 2. And I also think they're going to reveal that Ishamael is not the Dark One very early on to the whole audience. I don't think they're trying to keep that hidden.
Yes.
I mean, he was already in one of the teasers. So
yeah, I agree. And I think, right, we've already basically got 3. We're getting 3 Forsaken cut right easy, right? Aghanorm.
I think so.
Balthamel, I don't think they're coming back. I don't think I don't know what they do with Osingar and Aragorn, if they put them in the story, or they're just like dark friends. Like, you know, Deshiva could be an Ashaman who's just bad, you know. And
you do need Moradin though.
Yes. Oh, he'll definitely come back. And then probably Bilal's probably gone. I don't think we're going to get Bilal.
Yeah,
so
agree.
That's 3 out of the 13 already gone. And then, I mean, I know there was 8 statues, I think, right?
8 statues.
So there could be 2 more possible cuts.
8 statues, 8 cracks, but 13 little cracks on the seal.
Maybe they didn't make it out. Maybe they were like miscarriages.
There's 1 less female Forsaken in the statues too. So,
well, you know, there is also theories that Zalia Mendez-Jones is a Forsaken.
I think I said Moghedien.
And I believe they're non-binary, right? So that could be interesting to have like not just female and male Forsaken. I think that would be cool.
A non-binary. I mean, they could cut Masana. That's another one I think they could cut and just replace her with a Black Aja, you know, sister or something. But if they're cutting that. Tom and Jen, are there any other questions you had for Lauren before we wrap this up?
I just want to look at the picture really quick.
I think it's a good place to end.
Jumps out at me, yeah.
When Lauren, when does Lanfear enter the plot of season 2?
It's got to happen before Kyrian. So my thinking is as early as episodes 1 or 2.
Mm-hmm.
What does she do is my question, right? Like, what is her interaction with the characters?
Damsel in distress, obviously. Being chased by something. No, I don't know. That's a good question, especially if we're not doing Portal Stone.
And if
weirdness, you know,
with Moraine and Land too.
See, I don't think Rand will meet up with Moraine and Land until episode 4 in Kyrian.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think he'll be alone episodes 1 through 3, and then Selene will show up at some point. She'll kind of come and go. That scene where Rand is sitting down in what looks like an inn. He's got his blue shirt from season 1. His head's already shaved. Yeah, the crib, or maybe boat. I don't know.
It's probably a boat.
I think there's possibility that Selene is there at that point.
Oh,
He could be the one that gets him like dressed up in better clothes. Yeah.
That's true. What do you think about the wheel and him being shackled to the wheel? Like, I have a hard time placing that.
Is that a dream?
It's a dream for sure.
It's either a dream or a Portal Stone flicker thing. That's how I see it.
Oh, yeah. They could do a flicker if they're doing a flicker. That would make sense.
I just want to hear him say, "I win again, Lews Therin."
I do
once.
too.
Yes.
That would be really cool.
I think that the wheel, him being tied to the wheel, is such a like metaphor. Like I don't know if that could actually be really happening and not.
Well,
be
and
like in a
have you
dream.
seen that close up of the throne behind the wheel from some of the leaked images?
Oh, yes.
Where it also has a wheel on it.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't see the wheel.
It absolutely just feels like something a Lanfear or an Issue would do in a dream.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to just have a boat out there in the.
It sounds like
in the desert.
an Ishi thing, like tied to the wheel. I feel like it's more of an Ishi thing than the Lanfear
like he's
thing.
trying to convince him we can break the wheel together, kind of a thing.
Yeah, you're tied to the wheel. Why not break it and be free of it?
He could also like have a dream, and can he like make himself look like Lanfear in the dream, and then be like, because we
do
like,
see that
it's me.
We see what looks like a woman walking towards him.
That could be like
she looks like she's in street clothes, though. Like I feel like that might be.
But there's a woman. There's a woman off to the side that looks like they're like a dominatrix or something. They're wearing like really high heels and like skimpy leather or something. It's weird.
You also thought that Rand, the image that ended up being red
Oh,
was
yeah.
also a guy in their
Okay,
street clothes.
street
Joe.
clothes. Yeah,
Yes.
he did. Those
We
are
all listen. We
jeans.
all did.
Well, they literally show that close up of Perrin's pants in one of the shots, and it's like, oh,
I was khakis.
Yeah.
Parents.
Oh,
That
he's
was
got khakis.
parents khakis.
So another question I have for you guys. There's two more things that I want to talk about.
Okay.
That shot of Perrin with the shield and his eyes are golden.
Oh yes, yes, yes.
I had a hard time placing that
That's
because it feels like there's that night fight, and then they get captured by the Shan-Chan
Mhm.
the next day. Do we think that scene with the golden eyes happens before or during all of that?
I think it's after. I think that's a film.
I
I
thought
think it's
after,
episode
too.
8.
See, the problem is his wounds on his face matched the wounds in the Shan-Chan scenes. And the scene of him in Falma, he has no wounds. He has no blood at all on his face. He's healed.
Oh, the one with him and Avienda standing together, right?
Yeah.
But it's
Is
the
he-
same clothes.
Well,
Same clothes,
Is he
yes.
wearing the same clothes the entire time?
Everyone wears the same clothes the
Seems to
entire
be.
time in this show.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I guess they don't change.
nobody
Um,
changes.
Rand has an upgrade.
He could have gotten
Right,
healed.
so I do think
That's true.
Maybe Varen's with them. Maybe Varen meets up with Perrin and them, and she's just not on.
Perrin and Perrin.
It's just that the blood that matches his face in the definite scenes that I'm saying are episode 5,
Yeah.
I guess they might not be. Like when when he and the Shienarans are captured and
Yes.
Uno is being forced to kneel. That is like the exact same pattern of blood that he has in that shot with the shield.
Mm.
So is that right? So we've got a mixture in there, right, of the day shots and the night shots too, and it looks like
Right.
those scenes you're talking about with like Uno being knelt down and them in kind of almost what's the word I'm looking, in custody of the Shan-Chan. That's all in the day, but then there's fighting at night. So is this like maybe the fighting takes place like late at night, early in the morning, and by the time it's over and
Yeah.
everything, it's morning. I mean, this is when, if this could be when Loyal gets captured. So you're saying then later at the end, later in that scene is the Loyal with Ishamael and Sorath already captured.
Yeah, which I just don't know how to place that image.
I mean, that fight could be earlier. That fight could be in episode 4. Those fight scenes.
True.
But you're still right though, right? If his wounds match.
It feels like it has to happen around the same time. I don't know. I was trying to piece that together, and you're right. I could be way off in that night scene when they're fighting the Shan-Chan and Loyal appears to be captured. That might not even be the same day or battle as when they're kneeling down in front of what looks like Suroth.
Well,
That could be a whole different time.
How did they get away from them after that?
I don't think they do, but
I think Perrin has a lot of fights in this season.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
going to fight the White Cloaks, I think, twice. I think he's going to fight them early and saving the Aiel, and then he's going to fight them at the end.
do you think he'll fight? I think he's going to be passive. Even him holding that shield, it's a passive Perrin. I don't think he's picking up something till maybe the finale to actually fight.
I disagree. I think so. I've been doing it the whole time. I think Elias is Hopper, and I think you're on the same wavelength with me on that. I think Elias gets killed by the White Cloaks, and he wolfs out.
And he wolfs out, kills some White Cloaks. Oh, cool.
And that's why the White Cloaks are inclined to think that he murders them at the end as well.
And that's also why Avienda kind of has to like pat him on the back and be like, losing your wife, whatever that leak script was, where it sort of talked about. She's trying to help him work through that, and that violence is okay.
And I think Hopper
he
works
has to.
Hopper
he has to rescue them. He has to be
Elias.
responsible for them. Like he can't. I don't think he can do that passively. I think he has to take some kind of positive action to get them out of their situation.
Yeah, you've convinced me. I like that.
What was
the only other ones I wasn't sure about are those shots of what appear to be Min and Rand in that slatted room. I put that at the very end because I wanted it to fit into that, after Rand fights and gets hurt, that she's going to bring him back to health, and she's been working with the Shan-Chan, so her hair is shaved. I don't know if I like putting those two together.
I originally thought that because this is what I do when I don't know anything. It's Teller and Riyadh because Ishamael's there too, right? That's Ishamael, Min, and Rand. That's all the same set.
Possibly,
right?
It feels like that could be the one where he is.
The shutters, right? If you look at the shutters, even in the background with Ishamael, it's all the same shutters in all 3 shots. So that's why I thought it was potentially a dream. The Rand was dreaming about Min, and maybe Ishamael shows up. But I like your idea about it being at the end and being that scene in The Great Hunt where Lanfear shows up, right? That Rand's unconscious.
But Ishamael's dead at the end.
That's true.
Yeah, so he couldn't be in that same room. I'm still not convinced he is in that same room.
Okay.
It does look similar, but that could be a dream.
Yeah, that's what it
Wasn't
that's what I
Min's
think.
hair shaved in the first season?
I thought so,
Is it
yeah.
different?
Not in that way, though. She didn't have like the Sean Chen looking side of her head shaved, I don't think.
Yeah,
Did
she had like kind of more just
She
like
had short hair. Yeah, I
just
don't know.
short. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, I didn't even
High
think
and
about
tight.
the hair either.
I also like that it connects to when Min does become a Sean Chen servant later in the story.
Oh yeah. I
You know, I think
don't
they're
know how
going to
she
kind of
figures
give
in.
a earlier version of that, but
Yeah. How she figures into this season, I'm not really that sure. I would assume that they could just put her in the storyline with the girls, because right, she leaves Faldara, we know she's from Tarvalon, right? Her aunt's going to be in there, so it makes sense that she goes home, she meets up with the girls, and then gets sucked into that story just like she does in The Great Hunt. It makes sense.
yeah,
but
maybe
we
she
don't
has a
see her.
viewing and she's like, I got to follow them or something.
Yeah, or
She's just off camera in the shot with the three girls.
Maybe she goes with Matt and Varen.
I mean, how does she know? She never
it's
met
one
Matt,
of those two.
though. She's never met Matt, so that's like there's got to be some sort of
Oh, that's
introduction
true.
to Matt.
Yeah, but she her power set allows for any
Grouping.
explanation.
That's
to
true.
be
Yeah.
That's true.
feasible.
All right. I'll buy it. We'll have to wait another 50 days or so before we'll actually know.
So do you think they're releasing 3 episodes at once? Is that the consensus?
I think so. I
Hope
think they're
so.
going to do it exactly like they did.
Does that worry you that maybe the first 2 episodes are weak? That's what worries me. I feel like the 3rd episode was the best of the first 3 episodes.
That
in
was the
season
best
1.
of the whole season, actually.
Yeah, it was my favorite. They all got
Mine
better.
too.
Those, right? It was the first episode. The second episode I thought was better than the first, and then I thought the third was better than the second. So I don't know, but they do that with other shows too. It's not like they just did that for the Wheel of. That was like the first time they did that. I think they're trying to do like to get the best of both worlds, right? With the drop it instead of dropping a full season or just doing 1 episode a week. They're like, let's do a combination, and we'll drop the first 3,
Right,
and
it's
then
like half binge, half episodic.
They probably have all kinds of analytics on that. Like if people binge 3 episodes, then they're going to be more likely to come back next week or something.
yeah, it gets those binge people into it, and by the time they're done binging those 3 episodes, they're hooked and they have to come back. And then the episodic people are just like, yeah, that's cool. I'll just watch it every week when it comes out.
So I know we've been going long, but you guys said something about Amazon cutting back their budgets.
Oh yeah,
before we
skipped
started
over that.
recording?
Yeah, touch on that real quick, Tom, before we wrap up.
Sure. So there was an article that came out this week, I think, in the Hollywood Reporter, that was about Amazon Studios and their kind of change of business philosophy, I would say. In which case, it was for a long time, here is all the money, do whatever you want with it, spend as much as you need to spend. And there's been, a strategy of let's attract top line talent behind the cameras. Let's get names. Let's get, the Russo brothers. Let's get, they signed something with Donald Glover and with, I'm blanking on her name now, but the girl who made Fleabag. That's in the Indiana Jones.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And let's spend as much as we need to spend, obviously with Rings of Power, but also with the Russo brothers show Citadel, which like they made it. Then they made 2 versions of the show between the Russos and like the actual day-to-day showrunners of the show and the producers. And then they said, well, we like the Russos version better. So they had to do a bunch of reshoots before it ever came out.
Yeah,
So
that was really expensive, that show, I heard.
So
Unbelievably
more expensive than Wheel of Time, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I heard
Yes.
they threw a lot of money at that show, and I heard they wasted a lot of money, I think. Like you
Well,
said.
they still believe in it because the idea of that show is make a show that then they can make like, and here's an India version, and here's a China version, and have spin-offs for the show in local markets almost.
Interesting.
So whatever, but basically they're like, yeah, what if we ran this like a business though, and like actually tracked the money and made sure that like we were spending it in a sane way, and that we knew where the money was going and things of that nature. So like, I think when people saw it, they were like, oh no, they're cutting the budgets. They're not talking about that at all. They're really just talking about making sure that like they understand what the money is being spent on. There's no mention of the Wheel of Time in that season in the article at all, basically because the Wheel of Time, while it wasn't, I don't know, it wasn't like the massive ratings hit that like the late seasons of Game of Thrones was. The Wheel of Time outperformed all of their metrics that they expected it to do. Right? By the end of season 1, even though some people didn't like it, right, it was where they hoped it would be by season 2 or 3 in regards to like viewership, retention, all the rest of that stuff. Right? No one's worried about the show. What they're worried about with the Wheel of Time is the delays in production has consistently had. Right? Mm-hmm. Season 1, unbelievably delayed. Season 3, who knows what's going to happen with the writer's strike and possibly a SAG-AFTRA strike. Like, if season 3 is also delayed, the show is a little bit cursed.
Especially,
that could be a nail in a coffin.
Especially if season 2 does not do as well as season 1.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think that, you know, people in the fandom, like people who listen to this show, want more. They want more trailers, they want more interaction, they want more real stuff, but like that's not the way that anyone does things nowadays for anything, right? You just don't see that level of consistent marketing that we are used to. That like, hey, I see like we were like, oh, we're gonna get an ad in the Super Bowl. That doesn't happen anymore. We get ads in the Super Bowl for things that are coming out in March. Like that's it, right? So like this is how things are. I think that they're very confident in the show and they consider it a tentpole for them, just not the tentpole.
Right.
And I think that if it performs better than Rings of Power did, like I do think that when you're looking at investment, like if you're looking at it as like, how much money do we spend? What do we get out of it? Right. There may be a tipping point here. So we'll see. Like, you know, we'll find out when we watch the season and how it works.
And we hear the numbers.
But
if
the
they
story,
tell
we know
us.
the story is really good, right?
Yeah. Well, especially because we've always talked about this. Season 1 had its issues at the end. Book 2 is a stronger book.
Yes.
And and book 3 or book 4 rather, season 3. If they can knock that out of the park like we're all hoping, I really think that could be enough to launch them to the end of the full story. Because that is so great. Like that writing from Robert Jordan is so good. And they've said multiple times, season 3 has to be more in line with book 4. So that's the hope. Yeah. I just worry that Amazon's also saying, well, we're only going to give you 6 episodes a season now, which is another rumor that's been spreading. So
yeah, I mean, I hate it. I want more episodes per season, but if they give them 6 hour-and-a-half episodes for book 4, I'll take that. I think it's the plot lines are so once the kickoff happens, once episode 1 of season 3 happens, the plot lines are so kind of self-contained.
It's true
that you could probably do them in like, okay, everyone gets a half an hour a week, you know?
Yeah.
And that's it. And we progressed the storyline. I mean, I hate it. Amazon, if you're listening, more episodes.
10 episodes.
10 episodes.
Episodes. Easily fill up those 10 episodes.
You can, and not with filler, like with story, with great story. Please. I know, you know, the decision's already been made. They're making it now, but you know.
The other thing that people talk about is they say things like, well, I hope they listen to the fans after season 1 and that they learned their lesson with season 2. And I like to remember that season 2 was already written and in production when season 1 came out. There was nothing they could have yet learned.
No.
Very true.
And so I wonder about if this is another reason why I think season 3 has to be the thing that makes or breaks it. Because I don't know that season 2 will course correct as much as season 3 will. Anyway.
I think I have a feeling the second half of season 2 is where it's going to make or break it, right? The beginning could be a little slow. I mean, it shouldn't be too slow, to be honest with you, in the beginning. But I mean, right, they're going to be introducing some new characters. We're going to meet Elaine. We're going to meet Varen. We're going to meet Lanfear. Intar and Elias, Dane Bornhall. There's a lot of new characters to introduce who are kind of important characters and not just throwaway characters. So I think if they can nail the second half of the season where, you know, Egwene getting captured and the whole lead up to Falm and then the big battle at the end, it can't be worse than episode 8, right? The end of this.
Right.
So
knock on wood. Yeah.
So I think that's where we're gonna tell. I think by episode 4, if it's not good by episode 4, or it's not better by episode 4, then I think maybe we should be a little bit concerned.
Well, we're going to love it no matter what, right? I mean, that's another thing some people have a hard time understanding is we are fans of the Wheel of Time in all its forms.
Mm-hmm.
It's just because it's not exactly like the books doesn't make it fun.
Yeah, and so. I kind of like that there's things in it that I don't like, because then I get to complain about them on the podcast. So
yeah, just like we all did with the books. Yeah, I complain about the books. So
yeah. So all right, let's wrap it up here. Seems like a good place to stop here. Before I go into my spiel, Lauren, you want to tell everyone, where they can find you, and if you have anything coming up soon that you might be able to tell anybody what's coming down the pipeline?
Well, I guarantee once we have a trailer, I'll be doing a trailer breakdown video. So that should be coming hopefully soon. I'm working on a season 1 recap video right now.
Yes.
I've recapped each episode, although I haven't released my episodes 7 and 8 recaps yet. I'm still editing those. But they're very quick. They're like meant for a TikTok audience, almost just like 2 minutes, quick recaps. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to go into a little bit more detail with my full season recap. So those are the 2 videos I hope to have done before season 2. I still haven't reviewed season 1. I may never at this point. I've kind of decided that I don't want to review it because I just like to be a fan and be excited. And I'm not really interested in being super negative and critical. Mm-hmm. There are plenty of other people who do that. And I definitely have my issues with the show.
Yeah.
But it's just like, I don't know. If I were to rank season 1 as a whole, I wouldn't put it above some of my favorite TV shows. That show hasn't done that for me yet, Yeah,
I agree. But I like the season 1 recap. I think it was so funny. Like The Witcher just came out, right? And my wife and I were like, "Oh my God, what happened in the last season?"
Yeah.
And they put out they had what's his name, the guy who plays Jaskiel, do like a recap of season 1, and they had posted it on Twitter. And I was like, "Oh man!" I was like, "I hope Lauren does one of these because a lot of people are going to want that, right? People are going to be like, what the hell? This was especially right 20 something months ago." The season came out, so I think everybody needs a good recap refresher to watch before season 2 starts. So I'm looking forward to
that one's almost done. I should have that one done definitely before season 2 airs. But
awesome.
There might be some other exciting things in the works, but hush hush.
Oh, okay. We'll keep it secret. I want to remind everyone to follow us on social media. You could follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Join us over in Discord to continue the conversation there. We also post our episodes on YouTube, so go check out our YouTube page and like and subscribe. Rate and review us wherever you listen to podcasts, and check out our merchandise and Patreon pages to support us that way. Links to all the aforementioned information are included in the show notes to this episode. I will put a link to Lauren's YouTube channel and his podcast. Go check both of them out. If you haven't done it so already, you're missing out. Thank you so much, Lauren. This is, I think we tried to get you on a few times and it just didn't work. And it's so weird that this was the time that worked, where you were literally driving 5 hours home from something.
Yeah, I got home from vacation 2 hours before we recorded.
So really
thank you so much for having me. I hope we can do this again.
Yes.
I love doing this. I'm guessing I'm seeing all 3 of you at WalkCon.
We'll see you in a few days, Lauren.
Yes. Excited.
All right. Thanks everyone for listening, and you'll hear us next time.